Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of your most educative program, The Fides Family and Society, coming to you live from Fides Television. I am Alexander Johnson Adejo, your host on today's episode. In today's episode of the program, we shall be discussing very important topic that mean almost everything to the Nigerian youths. What topic am I talking about? And the topic for today's discussion is skills and substances, empowering the youth against drug dependency. The topic for today's discussion is in commemoration of the 2025 International Day for the Awareness Against Drug Abuse, which is actually taking place today. To do justice to this topic is no other person than my own daddy, someone we hold so very dear to our hearts. I'm talking about the director of the Skill Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development, Said, in NYSC, Mr. Kehinde, Aremu. I almost said a round of applause. Daddy, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers.
All right. So, a quick one, Daddy. What's your reaction generally when we talk about the Nigerian youths? Before now, a lot of people see Nigerian youths are a set of very lazy people. Very lazy people. Do you agree to that idea?
First of all, congratulations to all the youths in the world on the very, very important commemoration of this day where we draw attention to this ill that is called drug dependency. I'd like to thank God that the world recognizes now that it's something that we need to address and that is setting back individuals, families, nation, values. And so, and I'm also thankful to God for using Fides Media to bring out this very important topic. Well, I should expectedly, I'll be one of those that will disagree with the notion that Nigerian youths are lazy. I was a youth. I have been in the business of youth management for about 34 years now. And to the glory of God, I can tell you confidently that I have, in my lifetime, in my career, I've had cause to groom, manage, meet thousands and thousands of Nigerian youths. And my overall assessment is that Nigerian youths are very resilient, they are very hardworking, they are innovative, energetic, and maybe in the course of this program, I might be able to throw light on some of the reasons why I can, without any fear of contradiction, that Nigerian youths remain one of the best in the world. Maybe, if time permits and if questions go there, I have evidence.
Thank you so very much for that in-depth introduction. Lest I forget, we have with us in the studio this evening some very great minds. I'm talking about the best when you talk about journalism in Anambra State. We have in the studio Mr. David Eleke is in the building. We have also in the studio Mr. Elekwaya. All welcome. These are gentlemen of the press who always contribute their quota when issues like these come up. All right. Just so you know that we are interested about your own participation on the program this evening, our wonderful viewers. We will be opening a line that you could send your contributions. You could raise your questions, you could make your comments, and then they would actually be attended to immediately. You can't call this line, unfortunately. You can only leave a WhatsApp message. And the number to reach out to is 0907 200-0206. The number again is 0907 200-0206. Now we get back to the discussion. Skills, not substances. Sadly, pardon me, I might be using daddy. I almost said, sadly, Mr. Aremu, I don't want to go that official. Sadly, the Nigerian youth have contributed in what we see and hear about them. I was at a function just last week to MC an event. And while the program was ongoing, there was chaos in the hall. A youth fell off. And then, personally, I was disturbed. And then when I went to find out, those who know better than myself said, no, don't worry. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. It's kolos. And I asked, what is kolos? He said it's a substance. Now, in your position now as the director of the NYC, who is in charge of skills, skill acquisition, and then entrepreneurship development, how do we harness this? Because these are two different things. Skills and then substances. I'm believing that people who engage in substances are people who are idle, who don't want to get involved with the major matter, skills. What is your general take on this, sir?
Okay. Unfortunately, that general saying that the idle hand is the devil's workshop holds true on this. Unfortunately, the collapse of the value system in our society has, including the family values, caused by the family, and unfortunately, I must say, even the church has brought this upon us as a people. And please pardon me, it is not just Nigeria. It's a societal thing, and it's a global issue. Unfortunately. But the truth is, there is a correlation between opportunities and substance use. For most people that have skills and they look forward to using that skill, or those that have started using the skill to earn money, if you begin to earn money, most often, I don't have statistics to prove this, but I have experience on that. Those that have skills that they depend on to earn livelihood, most often don't go the way of substance use or substance abuse, as I would like us to. So there is a direct correlation between a lack of hope or lack of a means of sustenance and the use of these drugs. Unfortunately, that is the reality. So, and that's why we are in our own little space, we try to ensure, encourage everyone that comes into our own space to take up a skill. It is a two-sprong thing, not only for them to be able to stay, to be self-sustaining, but also we know that it takes them away from substance abuse or substance use and being problems to the society. So, absolutely so, there is a correlation between idleness and substance use. Okay,
still on drug abuse. One will argue that beyond hard drugs, almost every Nigerian is involved in drug abuse. Why? You just feel your body is a little bit weak and you give yourself self-prescription. I think it's malaria. I'm feeling feverish. Maldox will do. You just go to the pharmacy and then tell the pharmacist, I need Maldox. And they offer you, you take the dosage you want to. Do you see that also as part of drug abuse?
I think there is the need to draw a line there. Drug abuse is a more dysfunctional. It's an indication of a dysfunctional society. As much as self-medication is bad, but I think we should do a differentiation between the two. Self-medication is bad, which is the latter one you talked about. But definitely, when we are looking at disruptions of society, destruction of family values, national life, loss of life and livelihood, I think it will be more appropriate to focus more on, and focus more on substance use or substance abuse, while we allow the pharmacists and the doctors to keep advising Nigerians and the world about the ills of self-medication. I think a more serious issue in our society is substance or drug abuse.
Okay. That is from your experience in all your travels and your interaction with the Nigerian youth. Do you think the Nigerian government have done enough in fighting the spread of drug abuse?
I don't think that the approach of governments is usually in the area of dissipating energy on arrest, prosecution, and maybe jailing those caught. But I think there is a need for a general societal overhaul, such that we go back to the roots, which is the family, and whether we like it or not, the church. Whether we like it or not, most of the values that we held high while people like us were growing up were instilled by the family, from the home. I couldn't imagine that I will put as little as a cigarette in my mouth when I was in secondary school. I had this notion that my dad was watching me, even when I was far away. While he was in the village, I always had this consciousness that dad and mom were watching me. And so it regulated my behavior. So while government in recent time have started addressing those issues by counseling, when NDLA and all the institutional framework that was built around that was set up, it was basically to catch, prosecute, jail, which didn't help matters. But counseling, going to schools, secondary schools, primary schools, going to NYSC camps now, and counseling people, that's a recent development, which I commend government for that. But it has to be a holistic. That's the point I'm trying to make. We have to have a holistic approach to addressing that very, very dangerous issue in this country.
All right. Thank you so very much for your input so far. It's still your very educative program, the Fides Family and Society. So far, we've been digesting the topic that talks about skills over substances, empowering the youth against drug dependency. And like I said earlier, you could join this conversation by leaving us a WhatsApp message on the number 0907 200 0206. The number again is 0907 200 0206. So Daddy, I think you were able to preempt my next question. Now, who is to be blamed? The family, the society, peer group. This was a topic of discussion within a cycle of people I was with, I think some few days ago, where someone said, family have no role here. Have you not seen children of pastors who were raised waywardly? And someone will tell you, a peer group, of course. Your parents are not there when you meet after school with these guys and you draw one or two. Generally, in your own opinion, who is to be blamed? Drug abuse?
Well, realistically, for me, I still go back to family. You know, when people say pastors' children are wayward, I'm experienced enough to know that the reason why pastors' children became wayward is because pastors sometimes leave their own home and concentrate on the church, forgetting that they have a responsibility to their children. I have studied that trend. I have friends that are pastors' children, but the focus of the pastors, they have flock, they want to address the issues of the flock, they want to take care of women fellowship, they spend the whole day in church, they spend the whole weekend, organizing one program or the other, missions here and there, but the home front suffers most of the time. And if you ask those that are well behaved in the society, they will always, most of them will always go back to how their parents raised them. So here, I'm going to stand on the ground that family, the first introduction of a child, and a young person to the society, to the world, is to the family. He arrives in a family. And those formative years, what you hear, what you read, the instructions given, the examples given by your mentors, your parents, goes a long way to mold the attitude of such people. So here, no child was born to become into addiction, except the parents are into it. So I want to believe that it's still the family institution that has to, we all have to wake up again and get our values, family values back. In those days, the talk is, remember the son of who you are. And that word resonates all through the year in your ears. And they mold your behavior and your reaction to even peer pressure. You will always remember, okay, my daddy said, remember the son of who you are. So I think the family has a big role to play here.
All right. So we can just leave drug abuse and dwell more on skill now. Lastly, on drug abuse, what is your take? What is your advice? How can we as a nation, because whether we like it or not, this is one major challenge in Nigeria. How can we fight this virus?
Well, we have to, one is the consciousness. We have to raise consciousness of its ill. And here I would like to thank the former president of this country. There are some things that man did. In very early 2023, I think January 5, 6, thereabout, he signed the Mental Health Bill Act in this country, which determined classification of mental health, how they get there, and how they are to be treated. See, except the nation, we see it as a problem. We might never address it to its root. To this extent, I won't just say the responsibility belongs to maybe this institution or that institution or government. The first thing is consciousness. We have to raise the consciousness of everyone to the ills of drug abuse, drug dependency. It's something that we have to approach it from a multi-sectoral point of view. I know, for instance, in my own space, I had a nasty experience with a core member in 2022, and the next time we had a top management retreat, alongside a few of my colleagues, we sponsored a discussion on how to integrate mental health into the curriculum of the NYSC. And I tell you today, even those that pass through the university and carry mental health challenges into youth service, we now have a mental health division in every secretariat, in every camp, that we look out for these things, and we start with identification, counseling, and then we offload. So it has to be multi-sectoral. Everybody must get involved so that we can address the issue.
That was very powerful. I agree with you 100% on the need for us as a nation to do more of the awareness for this. I totally agree. I remember back then in secondary school when one of our teachers was saying one of the reasons why most of our ladies are wayward today is because they are not really exposed to sex education. Tell them this, let them know it. So I'm sure if the federal government can do more, maybe from primary or secondary school, there should be drug education.
Exactly.
Let our people begin to know the harm this thing does to their system. And I think the knowledge alone can create some level of fear, and then we begin to come to the reality that this is actually meant to destroy me. And funny enough, if you look at, I think tobacco, it's boldly written there. Oh yeah, smokers are liable to die young. And then, even though the company have told you, our people will still want to die young. To go about that. Okay, that was on the lighter note. Now let's get back to skill. And I think this is where we will dwell a little bit more. A good number of Nigerian youths are very optimistic that they will prefer to do, I don't have statistics to back up this point, they'll prefer to do a white-collar job than look for any skill. Sadly, or unfortunately, the pay is more rewarding with the latter, which has to do with skill. Do you think there is something we are missing to convey this message to the Nigerian youth that skills is an investment? Then, in addition to that, I would like you to react to one of the policy of the current governor of Anambra State, Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, the One Youth, Two Skill agenda. So basically, can you just talk about this lesson?
Okay. Contrary to the postulation you just gave, the dynamics of youth management, that demography is a very interesting group of people. Until in recent times, one of the things where we have found out is that young people actually want to work, but they don't want the 8 to 4 kind of job anymore. First, they want to be their own bosses. They want to work remotely. They want to, be able to work anywhere, not in the confines of an office. And to that extent, in poultry, which was okay. But in recent times, we have found out that there is more money actually in digital skills. And so there is a shift, there is a gradual shift into that space of digital literacy, which exposes them to international higher opportunities. We've had to train some to be able to work in Nigeria, but for South African companies, Australian companies, companies in the US, and all over the world. So it's just that the curriculum in Nigeria, the educational curriculum in Nigeria is a bit archaic. It cannot cope with international demands. That's the reality. So we are having to inject some level of education onto Nigerian graduates for them to be able to meet with international qualifications that qualifies them for international jobs. But one interesting thing, I'm speaking for what I know now. One of the interesting things that have come out for me is that international hires, international HR, prefer Nigerian youths for jobs. The only thing, and I use this opportunity to tell everyone that is listening, young people that are listening now, there are jobs all over the world. And these HR people actually prefer Nigerians. The only thing that mainly disqualifies Nigerian youths from getting these international engagements is our lack of what I would call soft skills. I have had interactions with over 120 international hirers. And what they tell you is that they prefer the energy, the intellect of Nigerians, but they don't like our attitude to work. You clock in, because those things are clocking in, clocking out. They ask you, clock in at 10, you clock in at 10:30. It doesn't work internationally. They ask you are attending to a customer, and you are, instead of being courteous, you are rude. It's not acceptable. They won't hire you. So that's the other one we are now trying to do, to ensure that Nigerian youths conform to international standard. If we're able to do that, and we are doing that in our own spaces, if we're able to achieve that, I believe that what we call unemployment now will begin to dissipate to a large extent. I assure you of that, and that's very revealing. And I'm having to talk to young people now that this is the missing link, and it's time that we got on that international scale. There is job. I mean, there is job internationally. It's just for Nigerians to upscale.
Thank you so very much. Okay, let's attend to a few questions that have been raised from the WhatsApp chat. We have a question from Wisdom. Wisdom says, what is the government doing at different levels to minimize drug abuse aside from the violent approach we experience at the moment? Okay, Israel, Daddy will attend to you. Okay, let's get your reaction.
Yeah, the Wisdom is right in that. Wisdom is right. The approach shouldn't be violence, not at all. And that was one of the things that the Mental Health Act tried to address. You know, let's even take those that derail, those that now have mental challenges. The first thing we do in this part of the world is to chain them and beat them. Now, it's not everyone that goes that route that actually became mentally challenged because of drug. Some of them, it's induced by stress. Some of these things is induced by maybe experiences. So when we just think everybody that exhibits mental health challenge was a drug addict or something, and that's the approach we use. We chain them, we beat them, you torture. At the end of the day, we are not achieving anything. So there are, like Wisdom said, there are better ways of handling these things. You categorize into those that got mental health challenges either through drug. Those ones, they need rehabilitation, counseling, they need to be shown love. No matter how much they have heard. And there are psychiatrists, there are mental health workers. We need to train more because there are very few in this country. Our involvement in the NYSC has made us to know that there are very few. But what approach that we have used is to get our own staff to train them, to get experts to train them so that they can have these interventions. Now, for those that became that have mental health challenges because of stress or because of challenges of the society, those ones, they also need counseling. And with little counseling, treatment, interventions from family, showing of love from family and friends, they get over it and live normal lives again. So there is a need, like Wisdom said, there's a need to have a more sensible approach to mental health challenges. It's not everyone that is exhibiting that became so because of drug abuse. And we shouldn't use one brush to just wash everyone up.
All right, thank you so much. I will join my voice to that of Wisdom to beg and plead with agencies who are saddled with the responsibility of controlling some of these flow, the right flow of these things. I think there are more better ways to do them than going violent, or being violent with some of these Nigerian youths. All right. That being said, we will attend to more questions as they come in. But then, before we do that, I have a very important question. I would have to take note while Mr. Kehinde Aremu attends to this particular question. So, sir, if you are to advise, a golden advice, what skill or what area do you think one should prioritize in learning? One would want to think agriculture, one would want to think tech, one would want to think communications generally, photography, but let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, which would you, I hit my chest and say, go to this area, you will do well?
Okay, that's a tricky question. And, you know, when we were growing up in entrepreneurship development, as young entrepreneurship, you know, counselors, what we used to say is that chase your, what will you want to do, even if you are not going to be paid? Turn your passion into your profession, you know, those kind of stuff. Over the years, we had to amend our projections and our instructions to reflect the reality of the time. The truth is that if you have passion for photography and you pursue photography and there is no market for photography, you might be enjoying photography, but the job won't put food on your table. But to answer so we had to ask, where is the money? If your reason for being an entrepreneur is to put food on your table, then you have to identify where the money is. So I will try not to beat my chest like you want me to and pinpoint only one skill. But if I will advise young people now, I will say, as much as agric is good, I mean, all trades, all of these vocations are good. But right now, I will advise young men to go in the direction of digital skills. It exposes them to a whole wider spectrum of hiring opportunities. Everything has become digitized, and so there is a wide gap between the space and those to man those spaces. There's a wide gap right now. They can go into digital skills, and there's a whole range of them: web development, content creation, cyber security, a lot like that.
All right, sir. A follow-up question to that. You've traveled. Traveled around the world. You've traveled different countries. What is it that the youths in some of these countries, particularly China, are doing differently that is yielding such results we hear and see in the conventional media that we're not getting right in this part of the world?
Well, I don't want to stand here and lament lack of governmental, we've heard all of that several times, lack of governmental support, lack of opportunities, because those are the foundations for the difference that we have. It's not for lack of effort, but for lack of governmental support and opportunities. However, one of the things they do is the issue of SMEs. That was what grew China, basically, small and medium scale enterprises. They prioritize it so much that all you need to do is to just specialize in something. You will have off-takers. You will just have off-takers. And the factories, no matter how small, the moment they keep rolling, you are generating wealth, you are generating capacity, and everybody will be happy. So I think that's one thing that the young people in this country will need to do. Let's go. You can start small. There's no problem. You can start small, but start steady and grow steadily.
Okay, I think we have a question from Bob. Okay, Bob says, more often than not, some people are usually ignorant of where to go for some skill acquisition. How can one go about this challenge? I'm ready to learn a skill. Where are the centers? We have another question from Isaac. Isaac say, if I take overdose and it works for me, am I abusing drug? Because the totality of drugs is to cure. Am I right? Isaac, this your question is quite funny. We have another question from Mr. Charles. Charles say, in a country where unemployment is rising and corruption strives, can we truly blame Nigerian youth for turning to drugs when society offers them neither opportunity nor hope? That was a sad one, really, from Charles. Let's attend to these questions. Let's say the first question again, Engineer Israel. The first question. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, Bob said more often than not, some people are usually ignorant of where to go for some skill acquisition. How can we go about this challenge?
Well, I will address it this way. If you are a young person, for those that just finished secondary school, or finished primary school, and you have noticed that you cannot proceed, there are, depending on the skill you want to acquire, there are workshops all around that you can go into and learn as an apprentice. Those that have gone through university, through secondary school, there are also workshops that you can go to, pay a token, and acquire these skills. In any case, I'm aware that most state governments today, most state governments have skill acquisition centers scattered all around the country. I am also in a position to know that organizations like the ITF, they have skill acquisition centers. Some foundations, they have skill acquisition centers. I know of NYSC that as we speak, NYSC has skill acquisition centers in well over 15 of the 36 states in this country. So there are skill acquisition centers all over, depending on what you want to do. Most of our, if you want to go into agro-allied, most of our farmers, most of the big farms in this country, they take in apprentices. I know Leventis, for instance, Leventis Foundation has farms in 6 locations in this country dedicated to training young people. And if you go to those farms, you'll be amazed. People go there and they learn for a whole year. You'll be there. They will feed you, they will clothe you, they will give you allowances. And these people are graduating and setting up their farms. It's just to, maybe Bob, just make some inquiries or make inquiries for your junior ones. There are skill acquisition centers all around the country.
All right, so we'll take Isaac and then Charles' question together. What Isaac asking, okay, Charles said in a country where unemployment is rising and corruption strive, can we truly blame the Nigerian youth for turning into drugs when society offer them neither opportunity nor hope? Then Isaac is saying, if he takes overdose and it works for him, is that drug abuse as far as it cures him?
Let's take Isaac's. Unfortunately, Isaac shouldn't think that way. No, not Isaac now.
Charles.
Charles. Unfortunately, Charles, I hope you won't get it wrong, because there's nowhere in the world where opportunities are just put on the lap of people. And then drugs or use of drug, turning to drugs, cannot be the alternative to lack of opportunities.
Yeah.
It cannot be, we can't now say because the opportunities don't abound, then the next thing is drugs. They are two different, they are poles apart. So let's seek opportunities, and the opportunities that are available, let's make use of it. I always tell people, and I told a few youths when I was talking to them yesterday, that I know of a program that can take on 400,000 young people in this country with the money available, fund available. And when I say fund, it may not just be money, equipment available. But you will find out that of all the money made available, Nigeria made provision this year alone for SMIDAN to disburse well over 25 billion naira to people to start their businesses. At the end of the day, you will find out that people cannot, they won't go. They will have to return the money to federal government. Are we going to say there are no opportunities? The same thing, Bank of Industry. All you need to do, Charles, is move on. Let people go to some of these facilities. Go to Bank of Industry. Go to Bank of Agriculture. Go to SMIDAN. Go to ITF. There are facilities made available for Nigerians. But at the end of the day, people don't make use of them. Okay. And in any case, whether opportunity or not, even if government does not provide, please let's approach our relations. If you have built social capital, your relations will also advance or finance to you to start your business. But never ever consider the option of going to drugs as an alternative to lack of opportunities. Okay, that was for Charles. Isaac was saying overdose. Is he still drug abuse as far as it cures him? Isaac, I'm not a pharmacist, but it will be considered by those that are professionals. You know, the overdose, you have already called it overdose, because I think what you need to do is to approach your pharmacist or your doctor to be able to, if you need increased doses, because of your body size, because drug or medication is according to body size, kilogram. So if your body size requires additional dose, the doctors will tell you, but to on your own take more and think it works for you, it may look as if it is working for you, but I can assure you that they have consequences, and the consequences may not appear immediately, but they sure will apply someday. All right, that was a very perfect answer to Mr. Isaac. Like Daddy preempted, I don't even know why you are becoming a pharmacist overnight, Isaac. You want to feel, okay, doctor say, I take 2, I took 5, and it worked for me. Is that not a miracle? No, it's harming the system. It's harming the system. So we will go on a very short commercial break, and then when we return, we will take questions from the journalists who are on ground, and then we will wrap up. Let's see if we can attend to some of the questions we already have piled up on our WhatsApp chat. As much as we can take, we would, and when we come back, we'll wrap up the program. And then, like you already know, we have our guest for today is Mr. Kehinde, Aremu, the Director of Skill Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development from the NYSC headquarters in Abuja. And I remain your host on this episode, Mr. Alexander Johnson Adejo. Stay tuned. Welcome back.
And then thank you for staying tuned. It's still your most educative program, The Fides Family and Society. I am your host on today's episode, Alexander Johnson Adejo. And with me on today's ride is Mr. Kehinde Aremu, the Director of Skill Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development from the NYSC headquarters in Abuja, who has been helping us to drill some of these questions you've been raising online. We have a very sensitive question that is coming from the best journalist in Anambra State 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2014, Mr. David Eleke, who asked, and his question is simple. He said, what is the relationship between drug abuse and crime in the society?
There is very clear relationship. To the extent to which those that have been caught in crime, to the extent to which the substance that was abused distorted their reasoning, distorted their emotion, the capacity to be emotional. To that extent, most of them commit this crime not willfully, but under the influence of drug. And so to that extent, most of the people they catch and parade on TV, they will tell you that they did all of that while on drug. You find out that most of the time when ransom is to be paid, apart from the financial, apart from money, they will tell the ransom bearers to also come along with substances that they need, even in the bush there, to perpetrate their evil act. So there is actually, and I think that's one of the reasons why we must have a holistic approach to stopping drug use within the society.
All right, so that was the input we got from Mr. Kehinde Aremu with respect to that question. We have a submission that we will be displaying any moment from now, and that is coming from another journalist in Anambra State, Mr. Elekwa. Mr. Elekwa works with the Nation's newspaper. But before then, we have a question from Tochi. Tochi says, no matter the situation, pessimism and drug dependency are never options. Okay, I think, okay, that's the contribution we got from an online follower. Okay, thank you so much, and Tochi. That was a very strong point. No matter what, you have no reason. You are doing drug, you cannot say, like Charles was saying earlier, and what is the hope of the Nigerian youth? The government have failed him. So if he's going back to drugs, you can't stop him. Okay, Daddy, lastly from my own ends here, right? What's your advice generally to the Nigerian youth? You know, earlier, I think Isaac, one of the followers, asked and said, you're talking about skill acquisition. Where are the centers? They might be waiting for a building named skill acquisition. Generally, what's your advice to the Nigerian youth when it comes to skill and avoiding drug abuse?
Yeah. Well, drug abuse should not be an option. That one, whether there are skills or not, please let all Nigerian youths, let all youths stay away from the temptation of getting involved in outdoor. It destroys the body, it destroys the soul, it destroys the spirit. So that's clearly a no-go area for any youth that has a plan for his own life and that has a plan to be a part of our sane society. As for skills, again, while I will ask government to do more, but I tell you, let young Nigerians strive to acquire skills. Whichever one that you want to acquire, it's important. It is the panacea that we have right now. There are no government jobs. We've heard this several times. We've heard this over and over again. But one of the most fulfilling things that a young man can have in life is to be dependent, to be self-dependent, to be self-sustaining, to have a business that you call your own. It is so fulfilling. I've seen young people feel so fulfilled, so happy running their own small businesses and making a lot of money. When the opportunities doesn't seem to be there, you look for it. And I tell you, in the age that we are in now, without necessarily being a government person or praiser, as we speak, the various governments, that's the local government, the state government, and the federal government, they are putting in a lot of things to ensure that Nigerian young people have something doing, and the opportunities are growing. But young people should take up these opportunities.
Thank you so very much, sir. We have another contribution, and that will be the last on today's episode, coming from Mr. Ima Elekwa of the Nation's newspaper. Mr. Elekwa feels that the dignity of, they say dignity of labor challenge. Nigerian youths prefer begging to working with their hands. Ask an average Nigerian youth to learn mechanic or vulcanizer, he will say, a whole me? But that's the truth. Sadly, that's the truth. Some of these people who do jobs, you think, in quotes, these guys make a whole lot. A whole lot. Yeah. Oh, Daddy, what's your reaction to just that point so that we'll wrap up?
Yeah, that's true. However, we just advise young people not to cast aspersions on some of these kids. If you go abroad, you see they are the highest earners. And as we continue to, as the pool of mechanics, of artisans begin to depreciate in this country, I tell you, those that stick to it are the ones that will reap the benefits of learning those trades moving forward. And those that refuse to take it, well, in the years to come, it will be obvious that they have put themselves at a disadvantage.
Thank you so very much, sir. And that was it for this episode of the Fides Family and Society. We want to give a special shout out to the journalists who were on the ground to send in their own contribution on this episode of the program, talking about Mr. Ima Elekwa. Thank you so very much for joining. Then Mr. David Eleke, thank you so very much for joining on the program. I can't thank enough our guests for today's episode. Yeah, you might think today Mr. Alexander Johnson is becoming so unprofessional, daddy instead of Mr. and that's fine. I respect him so. He's my biological father, so you can understand why I kept on struggling with Mr. Aremu. No, let me do it that way. So thank you so very much for doing this with us, Mr. Kehinde Aremu Co. Thank you so much for your time. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the entire studio crew, I'm talking about Mr. Sopulu, who was on the camera, the head of studio, Mr. Rilwan Amos, the console engineer, Sir Engineer Israel, the producer, Reverend Father Constantine Echichechi Okoli, the executive producer, Reverend Father Dr. Robert Anagbo. So I am Alexander Johnson Adejo saying thank you for joining us on today's episode, and until we come your way next time, do have a great evening. Thank you.